Okay, final review for linear functions. Okay, this was probably the longest test we had of the semester. Write an equation for the given line in slope-intercept form. So that's a line. So the line, we write y equals mx plus b, blank x plus blank, because we have to find the m and the b. So remember what m and b represent. M is the slope of the line. B is the y-intercept of the line. So when we see a graph, we want to do the y-intercept first. Okay? So the line crosses the y-axis right here. So on y, this is 0, so -1, -2. So -2 is your y-intercept. That's your b value. Now remember what a slope is. It's the rate of rise over run. It's the rate of change in the line. So you need to find a second point to the right. Now I'm going to go with this one right here. That looks like it's on the line. So this, I start on this point, and then I go to this point. Okay? So I go rise 1, so +1 is the rise, and then right 2. And you see that line does that throughout, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. Okay, so the line, it's 1/2. So y is equal to 1/2 x plus -2 or -2. Okay, next problem, same thing. Y equals mx plus b. So m, b. M is the slope, and b is our y-intercept. Okay. So the y-axis, right there. That's close enough. So that's 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the y-intercept is 5. Okay, then I start here. I always go to the right, and that would be a good second point. Okay, so rise over run is my slope. So that would be down 3, so -3. You got to have that as a negative, right 1. Now if you have a 1 in the denominator, you really don't have to put it. I wouldn't mark it against you if you did, but that's the equation. Y equals -3x plus 5. Now in the next section we have the lines, and we need to graph them. You have to get the y by itself, okay? So get the y by itself. Well, it's multiplied by a -6, okay? So you need to switch this equation to the opposite, because I don't like the y I'm trying to get by itself. I don't want that multiplied by a negative. So I would make the 2x from positive to negative, the 6y from negative to positive, and the 18 from negative to positive. Then I need to add the 2x and get that out of that side, and then I can't add it to 18 because 18 is not multiplied by x. So I make a 0x and add 2x, okay? So I line up my equals. I got 6 times y. Now you got to put your x first, so 0x plus 2x make 2x. Then I put my constant plus 18 because it's mx plus b, okay? Now, you're going to divide everything in the equation by 6, okay? Because in the divide by 6 gets rid of the times 6, and now y is by itself, okay? So now I divide 2 by 6, okay? If it's no decimals, second PRB if you get one, so 1/3 is your slope. Makes sense? 2 6 is 1/3 reduced by 2. 18 divided by 6 is 3, okay? So now you have your slope and y-intercept. So the slope is 1/3, and my y-intercept is +3. Okay, so on the y-axis, our line is going to cross it at 1, 2, 3. Then my slope is up 1, right 3. From this point, up 1, right 3. Up 1, right 3. Okay? Take your straight edge and make that line as straight as you possibly can. Arrows on both ends, please. Now, the next one's going to be a lot easier because the y is by itself. So we have our mx plus b right there, and that is a -3. Okay, so the slope is 7, and the y-intercept is -3. Now, we need our slope to be a ratio, so I'm going to put a 1 under it, and it's 7 over 1. So on the y-axis, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3. Then from that point, I go up 7, right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right 1. Can't do it again, so just those two. It's going to be a very steep line because 7 over 1 is a very steep slope. Okay, just like that. Okay, my next equation is y equals -2. Now the y is by itself, but there's no x, so what we're missing the x, so we're not going to do, it's not mx plus b. This is a constant graph. So with constants, I make a series of coordinates. I usually go with 3. And then the constant value in this equation is -2, and it's y that equals -2. So y has a constant value of -2, and then the x, I'm missing the x, so we're going to have the x be whatever, so 1, 2, 3. So this coordinate's right 1 down 2. So right 1 on x, -2 on y. This one here is right 2 down 2, so 2 on x, down 2 on y. This is right 3 down 2, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And we have a straight horizontal line, and every coordinate on this line is at -2 on the y-axis. Okay, same thing here. Get y by itself, well, we're missing the y. So we have another constant equation. Okay, so the constant value is 6, okay? And that's for the x now. The x has the constant value of 6 throughout the equation. And my y is the one I'm just going to have 1, 2, 3. So write 6 up 1. Write 6 up 2. Write 6 up 3. Okay, so now the line is straight vertical, going through the 6 on the x-axis. Any coordinate on this line has an x-coordinate of 6. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit break from the graphs. They're coming back, but for problems 6 through 9, write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line with the given characteristics. So all these are in the form of y equals mx plus b for my answer, and I have to find m, and I have to find b. M's the line's slope, or the line's rate of change, and B is the line's y-intercept. Now this one, they say the slope is -4, so awesome. I know my slope is -4. Then we have to find the y-intercept. We also know that in my equation I'm going to create that if x is -1, y is 7. So to find b, we have to use y equals m times x plus b. Okay, so my m is -4. And then we're going to put 7 in for y, and then -1 in for x. So b, put b down first, b plus, -4 times -1 is 4. Now you don't divide 7 by 4, you get rid of the 4 by subtracting it. And that's going to be 3. 3 is equal to b. Now if you want to check and see if that's right, take your calculator and take -4 times your x value, -1, and add 3. If the output's 7, I did it right, and it is. Okay, number 7. I have to write the equation of a line that when x is 3, y is -2. When x is 6, y is 1. So that's y equals mx plus b. Okay? So m is our slope. B is our y-intercept. Okay, now they didn't tell us a slope, and a slope is rise over run, but I don't have the graph, but it's also expressed as the change in the y-coordinates over the change in the x-coordinates. So that's y minus y, x minus x. Okay, so let's go over here. I'm going to start this with my higher x-coordinate. So when I look at my x-coordinates, that's a higher one. So I'm going to put 1 over 6. Then after the minuses, I'm going to put -2 over 3. Now 1 minus -2 is 3, because that's the same as 1 plus 2. And then 6 minus 3 is 3. And then 3 divided by 3 is 1. So my slope is 1. Okay. Then the b, well, I know that when x is 3, y is -2. When x is 6, y is 1. So y equals m times x plus b. And we have to solve for b. So 1 is my m value. Now I got 2 coordinates I can pick from. I'll go with this one. I'll go 1 for y and 6 for x. So 1, so we're solving for b. b plus 1 times 6 is 6. Then you subtract 6 from both sides, and 1 minus 6 is negative 5. Okay? Okay, if you want to test your answer, take 1 times 3. We'll put 3 in for x and add negative 5, and I got negative 2. Now 1 times 6 plus negative 5, that's going to be 1. Yep. Okay, I need to write an equation that's parallel to y equals 5x minus 2 through when x is 2, y is negative 1. So that's y equals mx plus b again. Now I got to find my slope and my y-intercept. Now parallel lines, 2 parallel lines look like this. The reason why they look like that, they just kind of go alongside each other, never crossing, is because they have to have the same m. Okay? MB. I don't need the B, okay? My B is different than theirs. But if their M's 5, my M has to be 5. So B, y equals M times X plus B. So my M is 5, then when y is negative 1, X is 2. B plus 5 times 2 is 10, then I'm going to minus 10 from both sides. And that's going to be negative 11 equals B. Okay? And there's your answer. Now, this is different. You don't use the same M on perpendicular. Perpendicular lines do not look like this. They look like this. Okay? They form a right angle when they cross. Now, the slopes can't be the same. Okay? So if you think you're just going to put negative 3 in for M, you're wrong. I'll take 2 off right there. But the M's do have a certain relationship, okay? MB, I don't care what their B is. You don't put negative 3 for M. That's what you do if they're parallel. Perpendicular, you flip the M, and you have to make it the opposite sign. Flip means make it into a fraction, put it over 1 down here, and then flip it to 1 over 3. Now, you also have to make it the opposite sign. If that M is negative, well then mine has to be positive. Conversely, if that would have been positive, mine would have been negative. So M is 1/3. Now B, y equals M times X plus B. So my M is 1/3. And then 5 is y when X is 3. So 5 equals B plus 1/3 times 3 gives you a product of 1. Then you minus 1 from each side, and 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 is equal to B. You better not be using the same M on perpendicular, okay? Okay, now we run into absolute value graphs. I'm going to explain this a little bit differently because we had some people confused on it. Now, y equals the absolute value of x, and then after the absolute value we have minus 7. Now, an absolute value graph forms a V, okay? You have to find where the line changes direction. That is known as your vertex. It's an XY coordinate. As soon as I know that, I can make my V. We're not on the test, there's not any V's that go downward. You go downward if the absolute value had a negative in front, but that doesn't happen, okay? Now, here's how you find the x at the vertex. You're going to put a number inside your absolute value if you don't have one. You're going to put a plus 0, okay? Now, put this as h, this is k. Now, take the inside of the absolute value, x plus 0, and set that equal to a value of 0, okay? We'll get x by itself. You just minus 0, x would be 0. So your x is 0. Now your y is whatever the k value is, which is negative 7. That's why the vertex can be expressed as opposite of h, this time h was 0, and then just k. So if you don't like that hk stuff, put a plus 0, set the inside of the absolute value equal to 0, subtract 0 from both sides, and you're still at 0. And then negative 7 is your k. So I don't go right or left with 0 for x, but I go down 7 for y. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now the vertex is here, and then I construct my v. Just go 3 points right, 3 points left. Okay, now your range. Label your vertex 0, -7, and focus on your y. Your y is -7, so y, -7, and then from there it goes up. From the -7, it's going upward, so the range would be greater than or equal to. Now, the next problem. Y equals the absolute value of x plus 3, and then we don't have anything outside of it, so this is different than this one. So you have your h right there. 0 is not h, and I put a plus 0 out there for my k. Now my vertex. Now, put a box around your absolute value, whatever's inside, in this case x plus 3, set that equal to 0, okay? Because that's where the graph turns. That's the vertex, is whatever makes inside the absolute value equal to 0, okay? Now get the x by itself, -3 minus 3. So you get -3, so that's your x value. And then k, that's just outside, that's just going to be 0. So that's again why you can just go opposite of h for your x, opposite positive 3 is -3, and then just your k value is your y. That's why that works the way that it does. So you go left 3 and stay there, because it's left 3, but we don't go up or down. Then construct your v. Okay, label your vertex, -3, 0. Now the y is 0, not -3. Okay, so y starts at 0, and from there it goes up again, so greater than or equal to. The only time it's less than is if it were to go downward, but it's not. Okay, story problems. This one here is pretty easy. The temperature at sunrise is 65 degrees. Each hour during the day, the temperature rises 5 degrees. How many hours will it take for the temperature to reach 95 degrees? Okay, so we have degrees and hours. Hours is x, degrees is y, so per. The degrees per hour is my rate of change. It's also known as the slope. Well, it's 5 times x. So since I know the slope, I don't need to use m, okay, on the line. So x is hours, y is degrees. So 0, 1, 2, because I know this. Because I know I start at 65, then I start adding 5 every hour, so that'd be 70, 75. Now block that off, and you're going to put 95 with degrees, question mark for the hours, okay? So my line is all set up and ready to roll here. Y starts at 65, and you're adding your slope 5 every 1 hour, so 5 times x. Okay, write your equation and you got it. 65 plus 5 times x equals y. So y is equal to 95. So 65 plus 5 times x equals 95. Now get x by itself. So you minus 65 from each side. That's going to be 20. Then divide by 5, x equals 4. Okay? So 4 hours gets you to 95 degrees. Wait a second. No, I'm wrong on that. 95 minus 65 is 30. 30 divided by 5 is 6. Sorry about that. I fixed it. 6 hours. Okay? So it's 6. I'm an idiot. Sorry, 95 minus 65 is 30, not 20. See, I'm not perfect either. That's why I don't really get on your cases for making small mistakes. Okay, I take out a loan from a friend. After 3 years, I owe $7,000 on the loan. After 7 years, I owe $4,500 on the loan. How many years does it take to pay off the loan completely from the time I started making payments? So you have years and dollars. So X is years, Y is dollars. So per, dollars per year. Now they don't tell us that, so I put M times X. So if I don't know the slope or the rate of change, X, Y, years and hours, or excuse me, years and money, dollars, I don't go with 0, 1, 2. I need the 0 there, but I know that 3 years was $7,000. Later, I see that 7 years is $4,500, okay? And I have to get to $0, okay? How many years it take to get there? Well, I know that this had to start above 7,000. So when I make my line, okay, equals y, where's y start? We don't know. We put b. What do you add in every year? Well, we don't know that either. That's why we put m times x. So you need to find your m and you need to find your b, okay? So finding the m, that's your slope, okay? That's y minus y, x minus x. And to find the b, that's y equals m times x plus b. Okay, look at your table. We've got these two coordinates. So we're going to put 4,500 over 7 and then 7,000 over 3. Now the top makes negative 2,500 and the bottom makes a time span of 4 years. So now divide that. Negative $2,500 by 4 years and I get negative 625. Put that on your line. That's your M. So you must make a payment of $625 every month. So then your balance, how much you owe, gets lower. Now we got to find where we began at before we started making the payments. So the M would be negative 625. Now for X and Y, look at your table. I'll go 7,003. 3 for X, 7,000 for Y. You can pick the other one too if you want. So equals 7,000, B plus, then I take negative 625 times 3. I get negative $1,875. Now keep it together here. We're doing it right. Add 18,075. That's going to be 8,875. So that's how much you borrowed to begin with. And you can put 8875 on the table. So that's probably pretty close to being right. It makes sense when I look at the table. Now, write your equation. 8,875 plus negative 625 times x equals y. Okay, y equals 0. Now get x by itself. So you need to minus your 8875. That's negative 8875. Then you divide each side by negative 625. And you have a negative divided by a negative. We're going to get kind of a weird answer. That's okay. Negative 8875 divided by negative 625, 14.2. Hey, this is years, okay? So I'm fine with that as a decimal. Years are continuous. Okay, then the last one. This one's always fun. The data below shows the estimated amount of computer and video game sales in the years. So in 1998, that's going to be year 0. The sale was $152 million. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, as you can see, the video games are going up, not by the same amount every single year, but they show a positive trend. So it's going to be a line. It's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be a scatter plot, and the slope's positive because it's a positive trend. So make a scatter plot and draw a trend line. So we got years and sales. So the years go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The sales, I'm going to start at 0, but I would start at 150 since that's reasonably below the 152 line. And then I'm going to go up by 20 to make sure I get to 270. So 170, 190, 210, 230, 250, 270. Okay? So 0, 152. 185. 196. Somewhere in there. 210. 225. 241. 250. 7, 241, that's going to be, oh, that dipped down a little bit, but it's still a positive trend, okay? Then 8, 270. Now you're like, well, it dipped down. I don't care, it still follows a positive trend, so set your straight edge on the beginning point and make a trend line that follows the points. It should be going up. Now write an equation for your trend line, okay? There's two, so that's y equals mx plus b. Now remember what these mean. M is your slope, and B is the y-intercept. Now guys, the y-intercept is easy to find when you see a graph. It's this right here, okay? So I'm going to make my mini table 0, 152 because that's your B, okay? I mean, you can do this first and then do y equals m times x plus b, and I won't count it wrong, but you're kind of doing more work than you have to when 152 is your B. Okay, that's the y-intercept. So yeah, if I have a graph, that's it. Now I need two other points. I'm going to go with the one above 3 and above 5. 3, 210, 5, 241. Okay, and I really can't do the rise over run line because the points are off in the middle and nowhere. So it'd be best to do y minus y, x minus x. Okay, so I'm going to go 241 over 5, and then 210 over 3. So that's going to be 31 over 2. Now this is a story problem, so I don't really care. I'm going to write the 15.5, okay? You can second PRB it if you want. So that means you started at 152, and you're going up by about $15.5 million a year, okay? Now, if you want to do this first and go y equals m times x plus b with one of the points, that's fine. But I'm just saying the b, when you have the graph, the b is your y-intercept, okay? See, that's the y-axis. It crosses it right there. It's just like numbers 1 and 2 in the packet.